Hi there, I'm Tom Russell with Home News Now, and I'm here again with our research expert, Dana French. Hello again, Dana.
Hi there, Tom.
It's good to have you back. We got through our first big overview, and this is now our second discussion, a deeper dive into the living room.
hmm
And as we've seen with these reports dating back to 2022, upholstery remains the number one hot category for consumers. Based on what you've seen, Dana, with the research, what
hmm
does this message seem to communicate to you as a research analyst?
I think it's just the living room is so important. And we know that the sofa in the living room is the central figure. A couple years ago, in I think it was the fall of 23, actually, we asked where consumers spend most of their time, awake time, I should say, and half
Mhm.
say that they're in the living room and they're watching TV in the living room, they're watching movies, they're listening to music, they're playing video games, especially
Mhm.
younger consumers. So, and they're sitting on sofas to do all
Yeah.
of those activities. So it's just vitally important.
For sure. And in your analysis of this data, was there any indication of like whether people preferred sofas versus sectionals, or was it evenly split? What did you learn?
Yeah, that's a great question. So sectionals seem to be having a moment. They were the number one type of sofa that consumers, shoppers in the market now plan to purchase. Fairly consistent with what we saw in the spring 23 survey, where sofas were number one. Close second is the standard size regular sofa. That was consistent as well, down a little bit from 23. And then
Mhm.
sofa sets were right there with the standard at 22% planning to buy.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting. And I think one of the things that people seem to like about, a sofa and other seating set can kind of be positioned in the room, depending on how large the room is. You can kind of mix and match a little bit. Well, with sectionals, you can certainly configure these, to a room setting and kind of build them as you wish. So that's probably some of the appeal, I'm guessing, too.
Yeah, I would think so. The customization, yes, and
Mhm.
personalization of it for sure.
Speaking of customization and personalization, the fabric seems, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but fabric seemed to be a favored option versus leather. Is this also fairly consistent
No,
with?
this is actually new, which was fascinating. Yeah, so 62%, so 6 out of 10 shoppers said they were looking for fabric. That is higher. It was about half the last time we asked, so a little bit
Wow.
higher. And leather was down some. I would say that there were 18% though of shoppers who were not sure. So there's still a good portion out there who haven't made their mind up yet what they want. So those plans, right, can change when they get in store and look at product. But it appears that fabric is favored right now, and that's really the younger shoppers driving that.
Interesting. So it's kind of like the battleground states where people are probably trying to decide
Yeah, yeah.
their favored. In this case, it's a material story, obviously. That's interesting. Is there any indication that there was a heavier skew in this preference relating to like female consumers preferring leather? I didn't know if there was.
Yeah, I looked at that. There really wasn't. So in
Okay.
our survey, everyone answering the survey is a decision maker, a furniture purchase decision maker. So some were men, some were women. So it's really, really balanced that way. And there didn't seem to be a difference by gender on fabric.
Yeah, and I think that with the fabric story, there's a lot more patterns, colors. You have some of that with the color story in leather too, but I'm guessing that from a fashion standpoint, the fabric is probably driving some of
Mhm.
the interest because it's a more visual consideration, kind of almost with some
Yeah.
finishes, wood finishes out there.
I think those are good questions. Let's remember that next time to
Sure.
ask about
Yeah, yeah, I
that.
think that's interesting. I just know in our household there is not a preference for leather, and I'm not the one making that choice. So and it seems that, again, in this research, the consumer that's looking for living room furniture, sofa, sectional, other seating, is wanting to buy in store versus online. Did you see any different
Mhm.
dynamic in in terms of the preferences of what percentage wanted to buy this category in store versus online?
Yeah.
Has that shifted?
Yeah, it's about 3 out of 4 want to buy in store. That
Mhm.
has been fairly consistent over the last few years. And I think we talked about this in our first interview, right? But they want to sit on the sofa, they want to
Yeah.
test it out. Yeah, and that's why.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And plus, I'm thinking with these different materials, the fabrics, you can zoom in online and see, but the difference of the way it looks in person and online could be fairly dramatic.
For sure.
So,
And it's also the comfort
yeah, the
factor,
comfort is a
right?
big one. Sort of,
Yeah.
yeah. Were there any surprises to you in terms of how much people plan to spend on
Um,
the category this time around?
Not really. That's been consistent too. So on average, folks say they're going to spend between $1,000 and $2,000 on a
Mhm.
sofa. They do understand that a sectional is going to be cost more. So that came out in the data. But as far as prices, it's been consistent too. And we know too, this is just their top of mind price going in. So that
Yeah.
can change as well as they shop.
Yeah, I think certain retailers will probably have a mix on their floor. I think we're seeing a little bit more of a good, better, best story in some cases. So that
Mhm.
ups the opportunity to buy at entry level or trade up, to a degree within the category. It's funny because, like, that's where the in store, I think, is so much important too, because depending on the selection, consumers can look at those different price points, see
Mhm.
the difference, feel the difference, comfort level, and make perhaps a more educated decision.
For sure.
And the consumer comments, I was looking a little bit at those about what
Mhm.
they were looking for in upholstery. Durability, I don't remember. I mean, I think this was probably asked previously, but was a big factor in upholstery and even entertainment furniture, I think, which was also part of the research. Has this durability thing has that factor in
Yeah,
purchase more important?
we asked about life expectancy of the sofa. So, on average, shoppers think they're going to own it 5 to 9 years. So, that's how
Yeah.
long they're going to have it. And then in all of the studies this year, we asked about their kind of price driven when they shop or are they quality driven. So, with sofas, 56% are quality driven and they're more likely to be higher income and a little bit older. And
Yeah.
then what are they looking for in terms of quality? It is that durability. They expect it to last longer if they're willing to pay more for quality. And some other factors with quality with sofas, it has to be super comfortable, as we talked about, easy to maintain and take care of, has some functionality. So, and that's where the motion, right, comes in if they want that, or charging their phones, those kind of plus one benefits. They're also looking for stylish
Mhm.
features, so it has to look good. And then the
Mhm.
quality is all about the fabric and the construction, well made.
And was there any different dynamic? I know we didn't talk about this earlier as we kind of prepared for this discussion, but
Mhm.
was there any difference in dynamic between, like, were younger consumers looking for more functionality, cool kind of tech features, or were they as equally as driven to the durability side as the older
Yeah,
consumer?
yeah. That's a good question. We didn't ask in this study about those plus one features. I don't have that information for you, but that's something else we can look at.
I was just curious because sometimes, and I don't know if this is an overgeneralization or not, but we get the impression that, younger consumers may be willing to spend less, but that's because maybe they're looking to replace it more often. I don't know if that's a factor or not, but it's certainly an interesting dynamic. But in our last question here for this segment, given that durability ranks is so important for consumers, do
Mhm.
you think that this could have an impact if they're expecting their sofas to last longer or for a longer period? Could this have an effect on how important upholstery will remain as a consideration for consumers? In other words, if
Yeah,
durability is so important, will it remain at the top of the list since they may have to replace it less?
I think it will. I mean, it's the workhorse of the living room. We know the living room's is the heart of the home. So I do think it'll maintain its number one spot just because they're willing to pay a little bit more. Reality sets in, especially in this environment. So who knows how long it'll in truth last, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I think the workhorse is like a perfect
Mhm.
description because it is really especially whether it's just a family, kids, jumping on it, pets. I mean, we have
Right.
this thing at home too with pets jumping
Yep.
on the furniture, but also people entertaining more at home. And the more it's used, I mean, the more it's gonna, need to be replaced over time. So that's definitely a great question to ask as part of this. So. Well,
Absolutely.
I think we've covered some good ground here, Dana, on this. And thank you for the deep dive, as always, on this category. It's great, great information. And we look forward to talking with you on our next segment.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, thanks, Dana.